Hare Krishna. Welcome, Ananda Vardhan Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Are you able to hear me, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yes, Prabhuji, very clear, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So, should we start now?
1 or 2 minutes, Prabhuji. Devotees are joining.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear clearly.
Yeah.
Can you switch on your video also?
Yes. Yeah.
Shiny red. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Welcome all devotees. Hare Krishna. We are the Purushottam month, Srimad Bhagavatam Sravanam, day 18. Today we will be hearing on Canto 7, chapter 9 to 15. And for today's class, we are very fortunate to have His Grace Ananda Vardhan Prabhuji from Calcutta. Prabhuji is a graduate engineer from IIT Kharagpur, and Prabhuji presently serving as Temple Management Council and the General Manager for Newton Calcutta Temple. So we are very fortunate to have with him today, and we will hear from Prabhuji this wonderful Bhagavatam Katha. On behalf of all the assembled devotees and Kanyadesh devotees, we will welcome Prabhuji to this wonderful session by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times. All together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama,
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So,
Krishna, Ananda Prabhu,
yes, Prabhu.
you can
Yes.
take over now.
Yeah. So, should we
Yes,
start
sir.
with prayers, Prabhuji? Can
Yeah,
we
we
do
can
prayers?
start with Jaya Radha Madhava.
Oh, Jai Radha Madhav. Okay. I think devotees may be taking rest here because it's 9:30. Can we directly start with prayers? Because if I sing, then
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me, Prabhu? Am I
Yes, Prabhu,
audible?
we can start with prayers.
Yeah. Uh, Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितंश्च नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कांचन गौरांगे श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So thank you all devotees. I hope I'm still doubtful whether I'm clearly audible, but I think I should be clearly audible to all of you. Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Prabhuji, it is very clear, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So thank you, Prabhuji, for giving me an opportunity to discuss something from Srimad Bhagavatam, and I'm feeling very privileged and fortunate to be the part of the assembly of so many wonderful Vaishnavas from Middle East. Since past many years, I have been hearing a lot about wonderful devotional service being rendered by all of you, and sometimes I would feel thrilled. Sometimes in Mayapur and sometimes even in Calcutta also, devotees would come from Middle East, and hearing from them the way they are practicing Krishna consciousness, it really puts me in amazement. And because there are so many restrictions there, and sometimes we in India, we don't have any restriction in our practice, and we take it very cheaply. But there, the way devotees are doing it, and the way the whole sangha uh, is like the whole practice is going on. And although we don't have any temples, but it's still in the house, the programs and everything, the congregation is so active there. So it becomes a source of inspiration, and especially some of the devotees I was very closely relating with. So one devotee was telling me about the Damodar programs, which all of you have during this Kartik month, going to various homes and having this lamp offering and so many wonderful things. So it's really thrilling to hear the preaching adventures and the preaching services which all the devotees there are doing. And I'm feeling very fortunate, and I'm feeling very privileged to be the part of your assembly today. And that the discussion which I have been asked to do today is about the seventh chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, and uh, uh, it's from chapter number 9 to chapter 15. So it's quite a lot to discuss, quite a lot to cover, and we'll try to cover it in summary, and try to understand some of the important concepts which are being discussed in these chapters. And just one by one, we'll take every chapter. We'll try to discuss the important concept of that chapter and some relevant teachings, and then we will move on to the next chapter. Because as such, Bhagavatam is vast like an ocean, and it says that the spiritual knowledge, and especially Srimad Bhagavatam, it is as huge as an ocean. So when a person is there in the middle of the ocean, he doesn't know where is the boundary. Similarly, Bhagavatam is like a boundaryless ocean. We don't know where is the boundary. And similarly, in the ocean, it's difficult to reach to the depth, right? Ordinary person cannot reach to the depth. So similarly, Bhagavatam, each and every shloka is so deep, and we can dive deeper, so much deeper into the Bhagavatam that every shloka can be looked at from various angles, and so many interpretations, bona fide, shastric, parampara interpretations can be brought out of every shloka, and so many acharyas have written so many wonderful commentaries about it. So as such, it is very vast, but because the time is less, we'll try to cover it in short and in a short summary. So first, we will move on to the chapter 9. In chapter 9, as we know that from the previous chapters, Canto 7th is actually very much focuses on Lord Narasimhadev's pastimes. Canto 7th is famous. Like every canto is famous for something very prominently described there. Like for example, Canto 6 is famous for Ajamila pastime. Similarly, Canto 7th is famous for Narasimhadev pastime, and Prahlad Maharaj pastime, Hiranyakashipu's atrocities that he did on the devotee of Lord Prahlad Maharaj. So we know that how Prahlad Maharaj was very much tortured by his own father, and then which very much enraged the Lord, because when the offenses are committed to the devotees of the Lord, then Lord becomes very, very angry. And Prahlad Maharaj was a pure devotee of the Lord, completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. So then whatever atrocities were being committed, that enraged the Lord and that raised the anger of the Lord. And then when it reached to a summit, then Lord personally appeared and killed Hiranyakashipu and protected Prahlad Maharaj. So one thing we can understand, one teaching which we get from this is, it is Vaishnava aparad. When we commit offenses to the Vaishnavas, Lord becomes very, very disturbed and very angry. And we can see how much angry Lord was on Hiranyakashipu, that even after killing Hiranyakashipu, he was not pacified, he was not satisfied. And that's what is described in this chapter, that when Lord was very, very angry, and everyone was very fearful to approach the Lord. They were all great demigods present there. Lord Brahma was present there, and all the demigods were present there. But none of them was having that courage to face the Lord. Even Mother Lakshmi, she was also fearing to go near the Lord, and none of them were able to pacify the Lord. Lord was very, very angry. And then Brahmaji, he was the leader during that time. He was leading the things, and then he encouraged Prahlad Maharaj. He asked Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad, the Lord Narasimhadev, he appeared for you. So why don't you go forward, and why don't you offer some prayers, and why don't you try to pacify the Lord? Because Lord has very much love for you, and for you he appeared, for your protection he appeared, and he is very much enraged because you were offended, and you were not treated well by your father. So that's why he was very much angry. So why don't you go forward and you try to pacify the Lord? And then Prahlad Maharaj, he was very hesitant, but still on the order of the senior authorities, he went forward. And as soon as he went forward, somehow he was not afraid of the Lord. That is one thing we can see. That will come in the discussion ahead. But he went forward, and when he went forward, he was not at all afraid. And then he offered his obeisances to Lord Narasimhadev, and then Lord Narasimhadev, he touched him. He touched him and he gave him his blessing. Now here comes a very wonderful lesson again. As soon as Lord Narasimhadev touched Prahlad Maharaj was immediately enlightened by the divine knowledge. Same thing happened with Dhruv Maharaj also. When Dhruv Maharaj was offering prayers, both of them were children. Dhruv Maharaj was also a child, and here Prahlad Maharaj was also a child. So when Dhruv Maharaj, he completed his tapasya in the sense of when as a result of his tapasya, Lord Vishnu appeared in front of him, and he was not knowing what prayers to offer. But then Lord touched him with his conch shell, and then he was enlightened by that divine knowledge because of the touch of the Lord, and then he started offering wonderful prayers to Lord. So similarly here, Prahlad Maharaj, he got the divine touch of the Lord. He was enlightened by the divine touch of the Lord, and then as a result of it, he was that divine knowledge was revealed to him in his heart, and then he started offering many wonderful prayers to Lord. And then we'll see some of the summary of the prayers he offered and everything. So then another lesson which is there is, as soon as we get the divine touch of Krishna or his devotee, right? That is another teaching here we get, that as soon as we experience the touch of Krishna or we experience the touch of his wonderful devotees, like we see the example of hippies or in the Western world, many devotees before coming to Krishna consciousness, they were leading a very much we can say a very abominable type of life, breaking all four regulative principles. But because they got in touch with Srila Prabhupada, and through Srila Prabhupada they got in touch with Krishna, then their entire life got transformed. And even such devotees who never heard about Krishna, who never heard about Srimad Bhagavatam, and they never had that culture of Krishna consciousness in their country, they could adopt that culture of Krishna consciousness. They started following all the rules and regulations, and over a period of time, they became self-realized Vaishnavas. So that is the power of the touch of a pure devotee of the Lord, and that is the power of the touch of the Lord himself. So here, Prahlad Maharaj had already got the touch of a pure devotee in the form of wonderful instructions that he received from Narad Muni. We all know that Prahlad Maharaj, how he became such a pure devotee, because when he was there, of course, he had his previous life and other things that is described in the Puranas. But when he was there in the womb of his mother, and mother was there in the ashram of Narad Muni, so Narad Muni would speak Srimad Bhagavatam to his mother, because Narad Muni is a preacher, and he likes to speak Krishna Katha to everyone. So whomever he meets, he tries to make them Krishna conscious. So then he would speak Krishna Katha to his mother, but somehow his mother was not so much interested. But Prahlad Maharaj, who was there inside the womb of his mother, he heard all the Krishna Katha. And as an effect of that, when he took birth, he took birth as a very advanced devotee, as a pure devotee of the Lord. And that's how all his activities came about, because he had got the touch of Narad Muni. He got the touch of the sound vibration which came out from the lotus mouth of Narad Muni, and because of that, Prahlad Maharaj got purified. He got that seed of pure devotional service, and then when he came out of the womb of his mother, his activities were completely transcendental and completely devotional. So much so that when his father was trying to harm him, was trying to torture him, this child, he was just a small child, but this child, he never became fearful. He never got affected. And then we move ahead, and here then Prahlad Maharaj starts offering various prayers, and then some of the important things which Prahlad Maharaj says is that, oh my dear Lord, you can only be pleased by pure devotional service. You cannot be pleased by material things. You cannot be pleased by high parentage. You cannot be pleased by learning, austerity, penances, right? These are some things which are external things, and they can maybe you can do austerity if it makes you Krishna conscious, wonderful, but not just based on the austerity, or not based on the opulence, money, or based on our intelligence, or based on our high parentage, like Kunti Maharani, she says, Janma Ishvara Shruti Shrivir. So she says that rather than helping in Krishna consciousness, one may think that, okay, I have a lot of opulence, I have a lot of learning, and that will help me to approach the Lord very nicely, and that will make me a very advanced devotee. Not at all. Kunti Maharani says that they act as an impediment. They act as an impediment. If we identify with those things too much, then they start acting as an impediment on the path of our advancement in Krishna consciousness. So here also, a person, he cannot approach Krishna just by his external things, external opulences. He has to approach Krishna. If he is a devotee, if he has devotion in his heart, if he has love in his heart, then Krishna, then he can approach Krishna. Then he can understand Krishna. Otherwise, ordinary people cannot just so easily approach Krishna, whoever that person may be. That person may be that person may be a brahmana, that person may be anyone. But if he is not having that devotion in his heart, then that person cannot approach Krishna. And we have examples also. We have example of there is one very famous example where I would not like to tell the entire story because time is very less, but very striking story of a brahmana and a cobbler, where a cobbler he asked Narad Muni that when I am going back home, back to Godhead. So cobbler was said, you are going back immediately, because he had that devotion and simple faith in the Lord. And this brahmana, although he was such a great brahmana, he had thousands of disciples, but he didn't have that simple faith. He didn't have that innocent faith. So then Narad Muni told him, as said by Lord Vishnu, that he has to wait for some lifetime before he becomes perfect to come back to me. So that's why by externals we cannot please the Lord. That's what we understand. And then and then the things. So these are some of the important things in this chapter. And just a minute, I'm just going through my notes here. Yeah. So here, apart from this, like some of the more philosophical aspects are mentioned, but yeah, and one more thing which he tells is, which very important thing which he tells is that the form of Lord Narasimhadev. This is also very important teaching which we can understand. The form of Lord Narasimhadev was very fearful to whom? So the form of Lord Narasimhadev was very fearful to the non-devotee. He says that I am not very much afraid of your this wonderful form, although it is very ferocious. You are very angry, but I am not feeling fearful of this. I am feeling very sheltered by this form, and this can be understood because whatever form the Lord takes, but for a devotee, he is that Lord, and devotee always sees him with that love. And for Lord also, he sees his devotees also with that love, right? So that mutual love always remains. So Lord may take any form, but when the devotee sees him, they feel they feel that same love, they feel that same reciprocation with the Lord. They may not feel that fear which others may feel. And of course we see that here Brahma and others were feeling fearful, yeah, because they may not have that complete faith in the Lord. And Lakshmi Devi, she had never seen that angry form of the Lord, and she was like surprised, how can my husband become so angry? So it was not that like she was feeling very hesitant to approach, but in normal way, materialistic people, they feel they have that fear to approach the Lord. They may feel that fear towards Lord Narasimhadev. And similarly, Prahlad Maharaj also says that materialistic people, because they are so much absorbed in their materialistic endeavors, and they are not they don't care for Krishna consciousness, then what happens? They experience that fear, because this material world in itself, the nature of the material world is, by nature it is very it instills fear in the heart of the people, because of the uncertainty, because of the duality, because things keep changing. So that's why people feel very fearful. The body keeps changing. We are young now, after some time we will become old. So then it creates fear, because not only we will become old, but we have to leave this body one day. So that creates a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity. And not only the body will be taken away, but even in this life also, while we are going through various experiences, we may undergo a lot of bad experiences. We may undergo experiences where our wealth may be lost, our position may be lost, even in this lifetime also. So that uncertainty creates a lot of fear in the heart of the people who are not Krishna conscious. But when we are Krishna conscious, then we always have a hope. Then we always have that positivity within us. Why? Because we know that this life is just a flash, and we are going to move ahead in our life. Uh, like after this life, when we are perfectly and properly Krishna conscious, then we will go back to Krishna in the next life. So we always have a hope, right? We always have a hope. And even in this life, if we are properly Krishna conscious, we don't feel that fear. We feel very happy, no matter in whatever condition we may be. So time is rushing fast, and we'll move on to the next chapter. Although many more things are remaining, but I think because I have to cover it quickly, so we'll move ahead. And here in this chapter 10th, chapter 10th, one very important thing which comes up is which is very wonderful lesson and very famous episode of Srimad Bhagavatam is Lord Nrsimhadev. He starts asking Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad, I'm very happy with your devotional service. Ask for a benediction. Ask what do you want from me. So then Prahlad Maharaj becomes very disturbed. So for normal, maybe for normal devotees and for all of us, or even maybe some materialistic type of person, if Lord, the owner of this entire cosmic creation, he comes and asks, okay, ask me, what do you want from me? Then we will have our long list ready. And sometimes the list may be infinite, right? But here, Prahlad Maharaj, he shows a very different type of behavior, and that behavior may surprise the materialistic people sometimes. Because here he says, oh my Lord, what are you saying? I am not a businessman, he says. I'm not a businessman that you do something for me and then I do something for you. And then there is a mutual exchange, mutual agreement of business which goes on between both of us. No, that is not what I am trying to do. And when I showed my love towards you, it was not having any motivations. I was not motivated by some material desire to gain something from you. Rather, I just wanted to serve you. That's it. And when you are showing my love, I don't want it to have that. No, I don't want to have that business transaction with you, right? We often hear that people go to temple and they have that business dealing with sometimes the deities, especially in Tirupati. People go and they offer huge sum of money, and they have their wonderful list, big list of their material desires which they want to fulfill uh, by being the by going to the temple and by offering wonderful things to the Lord, gold, money. And Tirupati is, we know that Tirupati is one of the richest temple in India. So much of offering comes there because people want that their material desires to get fulfilled. But here, Prahlad Maharaj is telling, no, I don't want my material desires to get fulfilled. Rather, if I fulfill my material desires, these material desires are something like they will catch me and entangle me completely. So I am not for that. I am not a businessman. I don't want to have a business dealing with you. Rather, I just want to serve you without any ulterior motivation. So this is something which is very, very important. That when we are practicing Krishna consciousness, not having that uh, uh, not having that desire to get something from the Lord, that is something which is very, very important. And that when we reach to that level where we don't expect anything from the Lord, because we are in this material world, we have our desires. But one thing we have to understand that like uh, we have heard from wonderful devotees, and we can have our own experiences also, that Lord understands our needs much more than what we may even not know what our needs and desires are. Lord knows them already, and Lord can. I was hearing from once from Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj was telling that Krishna can take care of you better than you can take care of yourself. He said. So sometimes we are too busy taking care of us, and we don't want to do services to Krishna. We may not want to engage ourselves in taking care of others, in taking care of when we preach, we take care of others. So we can get engaged in preaching. We can get engaged in taking care of others. But rather than that, we become so much self-centered, and we are too busy taking care of others. So that time, and then when we take care, yeah, we don't give chance to Krishna. When we ourselves start doing the thing, Krishna, he sits silently. Okay, you are doing it, now you do it. I am just sitting silently, right? So when we give chance to Krishna, right, when we become busy solving others' problems, when we become busy giving Krishna consciousness to others, when we start worrying less about ourselves, more about others, more about service to Krishna, more about service to a spiritual master, then Krishna starts very much worrying. He says, okay, this person is very busy serving me, so let me take care of his needs and let me take care of the things which he may lack. So that's how the shloka comes, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Krishna will give you what you lack, and Krishna will protect what you have already have, right? So that's how things go on. So the point is that we have to understand, we don't have to specifically ask Krishna for anything. Krishna already knows what are our needs, and Krishna already knows what we need in our life and how we can live happily, and Krishna will supply that. Krishna will take care of all those things. So specifically, we don't have to necessarily ask. Of course, if we are too much in disturbance and everything, where we can go, he is the person for us. We can go and pray to him. But in general, I have seen that even without asking, Krishna keeps on fulfilling the desires of his devotees. He likes to fulfill the desires of his devotees. So like that. So the point is that we don't have to. The most important lesson which we can learn from this chapter is we don't have to do that business dealing with the Lord, and we don't have to too much think about our own needs and wants. That will be automatically taken care. We should be just busy serving Krishna, preaching Krishna consciousness, and other things will be taken care. So that is the thing. And apart from that, yeah, then but Lord, here Prahlad Maharaj didn't want anything, but Lord still gave the benediction. That is the nature of the Lord. That even though the devotee may not want, but still, despite his not wanting, Lord tries to give him the material opulences. Like for example, Dhruv Maharaj, when he perfected his tapasya and everything, and then he got purified because he was in perfect touch with Krishna. Over a period of time, he got completely purified. All his material desires went away. Then he started telling, Lord, I was great fool that I was desiring all these materialistic things. Now I don't want anything. I am completely satisfied. But then Lord said, no, you have desired, so you take it, no problem. And don't think that it will disturb your Krishna consciousness. It will enhance your Krishna consciousness. Don't worry. Even amidst material opulences, you will remain Krishna conscious. That is my benediction. So this is what happens when Lord fulfills the desire, or when Lord, sometimes we may have desire, and sometimes Lord may take some time to fulfill our desire. It happens. And then when we get purified, we almost start getting detached from that thing, and then suddenly that desire gets fulfilled. And then we say, oh, I don't want it now, but then we still have it, and somehow because we have already become detached from it, it doesn't disturb our Krishna consciousness so much. Rather, we can use it in Krishna consciousness, right? Like for example, Srila Prabhupada also, he had so much of material opulences, but he used everything in the service of the Lord. He was completely detached from everything. And so many examples of wonderful devotees who had a lot of opulences. They were awarded those opulences by the Lord, but they never got distracted by those opulences. And that's what is the nature. When Lord gives you the benediction, when Lord gives us the opulences, apart with the opulences also comes the benediction. When Lord awards us as with his own sweet will, when he awards us something wonderful, then with that comes the benediction. Okay, now I am giving you this. Now this will not hamper your Krishna consciousness. Rather, you will maintain your focus, and you will remain detached, and you will be able to use all these things in my service. So here, Prahlad Maharaj was given that benediction, and then Prahlad Maharaj was coronated as the king in place of Hiranyakashipu. So that was the thing. So this is chapter 10th, and then we move on to chapter 11th. So here we know that this discussion is going on between this discussion, currently this discussion is going on between Yudhishthir Maharaj and Narad Muni. This is a discussion which is going on between Yudhishthir Maharaj and Narad Muni. In Bhagavatam, there are many discussions. Like for example, Bhagavatam starts with a discussion between whom? Bhagavatam starts with a discussion between Shaunakadi Rishi and the Suta Goswami. So Suta Goswami was the speaker and Shaunakadi Rishi were asking questions. And then Suta Goswami, while speaking, he starts quoting other conversations. So he quotes the conversation between Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. And then Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, they quote other conversations. So conversation within a conversation. So here, there is a conversation between Yudhishthir Maharaj and Narad Muni, and both were Paramhamsa Vaishnavas. Yudhishthir Maharaj was a pure devotee of the Lord, and Narad Muni was also a pure devotee of the Lord. So then Yudhishthir Maharaj further started asking about Varnashram Dharma. What are the duties of the human beings and how they can elevate themselves slowly to Krishna consciousness. So then Narad Muni starts describing Varnashram to Yudhishthir Maharaj. How slowly one can advance in Krishna consciousness. So little bit I would like to tell you about Varnashram Dharma, which is there in the Vedic scriptures. Krishna describes about it in Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavatam also there is a description. And Prabhupada, before leaving his body, he told to his disciples that I have done most of the things, but some of the important things are remaining. And one of the things which I wanted to do was to establish Varnashram. He said that I want to establish Varnashram. So over a period of time, ISKCON will play that role of establishing Varnashram. There are many devotees active now, and I'm seeing that over a period of time, as devotees become Krishna conscious, slowly, this Varnashram thing will come into picture. So here, what is this Varna and what is this Ashram? So little bit I would like to describe about that. Varnashram, 4 Varnas are there. We know that 4 Varnas, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. These are the 4 Varnas. Based on, and this is actually a division of the society based on the Varna and Ashram. So we see in this world also, this division cannot be avoided. This division always remains, right? Now you may say, okay, this is caste system, Brahman, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Shudra, this is caste system. Why you are having this division? Okay, so now in your society, division is not there. Can you make a labor class the CEO of a company? Okay, if you don't want to have that division, no problem. So then make the labor class person the CEO of a company. Both will have the same salary. No, never. It will never happen. So people will always have this division. That division will always stay. That can never be avoided. In companies, now the names have been changed, but in companies, there are people who are into the top positions, strategizing and doing strategic planning, how the company should move ahead. And then there are managers who are executing the whole strategy. There are people who are into marketing and doing the business development. And there are people who are ground level workers in the company. So this division cannot be avoided. The name can be changed, that is different thing, but division cannot be avoided. So these 4 Varnas are there, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So like we know already that this division was not based on birth essentially. Although the Vedic system was so designed that scientifically it was so nicely planned that the son of a Brahmana would become automatically a Brahmana, because the consciousness of mother and father while conceiving the child goes into the son. So if both of them have that consciousness, naturally it will go into the son. So somehow it was designed in that way that the son of a Brahmana would automatically become a Brahmana, but not necessarily. So that's why it was more based on guna and karma, based on the activities of the person, based on the nature of a person. And it may happen sometimes that the son of a Brahmana may not have the qualities of a Brahmana, may not have he may not do the activities of a Brahmana, then he was not identified as Brahmana. It was not just by birth. It was based on the qualities. You have to do the activities of a Brahmana. You should have qualities of the Brahmana. Then you will be identified as a Brahmana. So that is the thing. So that's how Brahmanas, the people who are like into Patan, Yajan, they are into reading scriptures, teaching scriptures to others, and then guiding the king, and then giving charity, accepting charity. So these were some of the occupational duties of the Brahmanas. right? And then Kshatriyas. So Kshatriyas were the administrators. They would protect the society. They were the warrior class of people, and they would do the management. They would do the administration. So they were the Kshatriyas. And then the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas were into Prabhupada describes, and here also Narad Muni will also describe that Vaishyas were into uh, business, Krishi, Goraksha, Vanijyam. So that was the business of the Vaishyas, how they would basically into business, Krishi, Goraksha, protection of cows, doing agriculture, and Vanijyam, doing business. And the Shudras, they were supposed to assist these upper three classes. So this was the whole thing. And then Narad Muni also described that these three classes, the upper three classes, Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, they were supposed to approach a bona fide guru and take guidance from him and take teachings from him. And they talk about the samskaras. Amongst the civilized people, the top three classes who were dvijas, they were known as dvijas. Dvija means one who has taken second birth. The first birth by his mother and father, and second birth when he takes initiation from a spiritual master. So that is considered to be the second birth of the person. So such people are known as dvijas, right? So Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas, they were the dvijas, and they would perform various samskaras, and these samskaras would distinguish a person from being civilized and not civilized. Those people who would not do samskaras, they were uncivilized. They were considered as uncivilized people. And those people who would do samskaras, they were considered civilized people. Just like before giving birth to a child, they have to do this Garbhadhan samskar, which is given here. So all these samskaras were, a lot of samskaras were mentioned in Vedic scriptures. Even when we read 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can know about some of the samskaras which Yashoda Mai and Nanda Maharaj did for Krishna, Brajavasis they did for Krishna. So the point is that samskaras he talks about samskaras, and that is one of the important aspect of this Varnashram system. So here he describes about, in chapter 11, he mainly describes about the Varnas. Varnas means Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And this division is based on also the modes of the material nature. Like we know that there are three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and then ignorance. These three modes of material nature are there. So Brahmanas are supposed to be in mode of goodness, and Kshatriyas are supposed to be in mode of passion. Vaishyas are supposed to be in mode of ignorance and passion, and Shudras, they are supposed to be in mode of ignorance, like that. So this whole society division was also done based on the modes, and it is very scientific. And we see that nowadays the profession of the people are not based on their nature. That's why they don't find that satisfaction, and there are a lot of problems in the society. Anyhow, that's completely altogether a different discussion. But these are the Varnas. Varnas he describes about Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These four Varnas he describes, and in the next chapter he will describe about the spiritual classes. The spiritual classes means the ashramas. So we know there are four ashramas: Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. These are the four ashramas which Narad Muni describes to Parikshit Maharaj. And he describes about the duties of Brahmachari. So Brahmachari duties. So nowadays, one thing I understood, we can go through these things, and they are like very high expectations from a Brahmachari. And of course, Prabhupada says that everyone should undergo. Prabhupada says that everyone should undergo Brahmachari training in his life. And here somehow I was very much surprised. I thought if I was asked to undergo such Brahmachari training, because I was also a Brahmachari earlier, so if I was asked to undergo such Brahmachari training, maybe I would never have joined ashram, or I would have never continued in the ashram. So the point is that it says that we must have heard that Brahmachari, he should not take prasadam until unless his spiritual master calls him to take prasadam. Anyhow, our spiritual master was never near us to call us, and it says that Brahmachari should take very simple prasadam. But in our ashramas, all over India, very much stress is given on prasadam, especially brahmacharis. They should be fed nice prasadam. So like that, a lot of things are there. But nowadays in ISKCON, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, many things have been adjusted so that even conditioned soul, Kali Yuga Vasis, they can also take to such practices of Krishna consciousness. So brahmachari training. And he describes about how a brahmachari should lead his life, how he should dedicate himself completely to his spiritual master. That's what is the brahmachari. Brahmachari means he's a student and he stays with his spiritual master, not with his parents. He stays with his spiritual master in a gurukul, and there the spiritual master trains him, and he's supposed to beg for the satisfaction of the spiritual master. And when his spiritual master calls him for prasadam, then only he's supposed to accept prasadam, and he's supposed to eat simply. He's not supposed to eat opulently. So like that. And then he says that such a brahmachari, he should abstain from the association when he is practicing brahmacharya. So he should abstain from the association of opposite sex, right? He should abstain from the association of women. So like that. So that is the training of a brahmachari. So till 25 years of age, a person undergoes brahmacharya training. And then after 25 years of age, there are either he can continue to be a brahmachari or he can graduate himself into a grahastha. So that is the thing. Like a person after getting trained as a brahmachari, then he has two options. He can continue or he can move on to the grahastha ashram, and then he can accept a wife, and then he can lead the life of a proper grahastha. And then after the grahastha life, like when we reach to a certain age, then it is described here that one can accept the life of a vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means he is almost on the mode of detachment, and he starts. So in grahastha life, one has to focus on taking care of children and raising them very nicely, earning good money, and taking care very nicely of wife and children, and taking care of all their needs and everything. And then by the time they start going little old, then children are little well settled, and then they don't need so much of involvement. Then husband and wife, they take off from the whole thing, and then they start practicing more Krishna consciousness, giving more time to Krishna consciousness. Whatever is described here may not be practical for us in Kali Yuga, but in ISKCON, how it happens is they start more getting involved with temple activities. They start getting more involved in preaching, counseling, and guiding other grahasthas like that. So that's how it happens. So it describes about vanaprastha. So like that. And then in the next chapter, so these are the four ashramas, four spiritual orders. There is the social order, which is based on the occupation, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and this is based on the, these are spiritual orders, means based on the spiritual classification. These are the ashramas. So the four ashramas are Brahmachari ashram. Brahmachari is a student who stays near his guru, and then when he decides to get married, he becomes a grahastha, and then after grahastha life, when he starts focusing more on Krishna consciousness, then he becomes a vanaprastha. And then when he becomes completely detached, then he may take to sannyas. So this is the four ashramas which are described here. So four spiritual classes. And then we move on to chapter 13, the behavior of a perfect person. So here, so here it describes about the behavior of a perfect person. Who is a perfect person? So it describes about the life of a sannyasi. Life of a sannyasi describes about in detail. A lot of things are there. Of course, we may not find all these things now, because in Kali Yuga, everything, Prabhupada has adjusted everything very wonderfully, so that we are just following the essence of the scriptures, and we may not go into the details of everything, because everything may not be practical for us. Like I was telling that to follow up the example of a perfect brahmachari, we may not be able to follow now, because we have been born and brought up in a different environment and different atmosphere. So that is very difficult for us. So similarly here, about sannyasi, it is given. Basically, the essence of sannyas life is he gives up his family life, and then he completely depends on Krishna, and he doesn't have any, like he doesn't do something to earn. He just depends on Krishna, and whatever he gets by as a donation or whatever he gets by begging. That's how he maintains himself. And it says about sannyasi, he should not too much get into materialistic things. Like for example, he should not too much get into earning money. He should never get into earning money because that is not the business of a sannyasi. He should not too much get into getting into name and fame, earning name and fame by speaking a lot of hi-fi lectures and everything. And he should not too much get into constructing big temples, and he should not get into too much making so many disciples just for making his name fame. And so like that many things he has described. And a sannyasi is supposed to be perfectly dependent on Krishna. That is the main quality of a sannyasi. He is supposed to be perfectly dependent on Krishna. That is something which he describes here. And he also describes about the highest stage of sannyas, that is Paramhamsa stage. So Paramhamsa stage means like one is completely detached from the material life and he is completely attached to Krishna. Such a person, even if he is offered, even he is a sannyasi, and even if he is offered a lot of material opulence, still he doesn't get disturbed, and he is able to use everything in Krishna's service. Just like we have example of Srila Prabhupada, we have example of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, where they were having a lot of opulences, although they were sannyasis and they were, but their disciples, they gave them a lot of opulences, but still their focus never deterred from Krishna consciousness. They always remained focused on Krishna, used every bit of opulence they had in the service of the Lord, and completely detached. Srila Prabhupada, he was never affected by opulence. Sometimes he would stay in big bungalows, and his disciples would offer him most opulent of the apartments. And the same Prabhupada, when he was staying in Mayapur, so he was staying in a kuti, in a thatched hut. So that was Srila Prabhupada. Same Prabhupada would travel in the most costliest of the cars, and same Prabhupada would travel also in Balgadi, bullock cart in Mayapur, right? So Prabhupada was completely detached person. So that is the status or stage of a Paramhamsa. Paramhamsa, even though he is kept in between lot of opulences, doesn't get affected. So here it describes about Paramhamsa. Also describes about one famous episode of where Prahlad Maharaj, he met a Paramhamsa Brahmana, but that is again a detailed thing. But that episode describes about the qualities of Paramhamsa. So that is the thing. So yeah, so that is the behavior. And then it describes about ideal family life, what grahastha should be doing. uh, yeah, so like the most important thing a grahastha is supposed to do is earn livelihood to maintain his family and accumulate money. They are supposed to do that. And they should they should take care of their family and give them all the comforts and whatever is required. So that is the duty of a grahastha. But here then the warning is also given. The warning is given that grahasthas should not get too much into that, and they should also practice Krishna consciousness and keep Krishna consciousness also in the center of their life, so that they don't just get carried away in terms of accumulating too much money on the cost of Krishna consciousness. Of course, like practically we see that as grahasthas, we have to earn money and we have to even accumulate also. We have to do our savings so that our future can be proper. And in future, we can focus completely in Krishna consciousness. That is very much allowed and that should be done. But here a warning is given on cost of Krishna consciousness, compromising our Krishna consciousness, we should not do such things. So that is the thing. And he says that how grahasthas should maintain everyone. It says about that, and should maintain all the living entities, including including sannyasis, including brahmacharis. So that is the duty of grahasthas. And they should distribute a lot of prasadam. Grahasthas should distribute a lot of prasadam. And here it describes about 5 things a grahastha should do. I just noted that. Yeah. So grahastha accumulates by the grace of God money. He accumulates money, but he should spend his money in these 5 things, namely worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, receiving Vaishnavas and saintly persons, distributing prasadam to the general public and to all living entities, offering prasadam to his forefathers, and also offering prasadam to his own self. So these are the 5 duties of grahasthas. So we see that how in ISKCON, Prabhupada has so wonderfully, nicely, he has put this system in the place, right? With those grahasthas who are not staying near the temple, they are allowed to have deities in their houses, and so that happens. We worship the deity, we offer prasadam to the deity, and naturally we call people to our house for having programs, house programs. So then we distribute prasadam. So that thing also happens, and naturally we also eat prasadam. So like that, Prabhupada has made such a wonderful system that this thing is automatically taken care, and grahasthas should give charity. So these are the things for the grahasthas. These are the duties of the grahasthas, which is described by Narad Muni. That is the ideal family life. Ideal family life means we are, in essence, we are earning, which is very important. We have to take care of family, because family is also, they are also like, they are also Krishna conscious devotees. So we have to take care of them. We have to raise our children in Krishna consciousness, but at the same time, keeping Krishna in the center and not neglecting Krishna consciousness, not doing anything on the cost of our Krishna consciousness. So that is the thing. And then the last chapter, instructions to the civilized human beings. So here again, he somewhat he repeats the same thing which he has discussed. Right? It is somewhat a summary of the whole thing. And again, he describes about householders. Again, he describes about some of the duties of the householders, and the brahmanas, different type of brahmanas. Brahmanas are also of different types. Some brahmanas may be householders, some brahmanas may be they may be brahmacharis, like that. So he describes about their duties, and then he describes about how householders, they should not spend too much money in Shraddha ceremonies, offering a lot of oblations to their forefathers. He says that while doing Shraddha ceremonies, we can offer them prasadam of Krishna. He says that here, that rather than offering them something else, we better offer them prasadam of Krishna. So during the Shraddha ceremonies, we offer prasadam of Krishna to our forefathers, and we also offer prasadam of Krishna to the devotees of the Lord. So that's how we can celebrate Shraddha ceremonies. So that is the thing. And then he says that a grahastha, he should not get into too much of over endeavor on the cost of his Krishna consciousness. And then they say about how one should, if one is overwhelmed by material desires, if he becomes too much lusty and greedy, then such a person, he loses complete focus of Krishna consciousness, and he gets completely degraded, and then he will have to suffer. So that's why a person should be very careful that he should not too much give in to the material desires. He should be careful. He should keep himself. He should control his senses, basically. And then it says also that one should have firm faith on his spiritual master, whoever that person may be. If that person has firm faith in his spiritual master, then we know that the import of the scriptures automatically gets revealed. And here it says that if person doesn't have faith in a spiritual master, he lacks faith in a spiritual master, then the scriptures, the essence of the scriptures will not be revealed to him. So that's how we know that we cannot understand the scriptures, we cannot understand Bhagavatam on our own. When we receive the mercy of Vaishnavas, when we receive mercy of the spiritual master, then we can understand the scriptures, and then we can then we get that the understanding of the essence of the scriptures. We need not be very great scholars to understand the scriptures. We need not quote so many shlokas to understand the scriptures. But when we get the mercy of the spiritual master, then we understand the essence of the scriptures. There is a description about Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, such a wonderful Vaishnava, and he was the spiritual master of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was an illiterate. He didn't know how to read and write. But it says that because of his complete pure devotion to Krishna, all the essence of the scriptures was already revealed to him. And whenever he would speak, it was complete nectar coming out of his mouth. All the essence of the scriptures would come out of his mouth. So here it says about the faith on the spiritual master. And it says about how a grahastha, he should try to control his senses. Yeah, that is about the whole thing. And then it talks about how a sannyasi, for the sannyasi, the main thing is a sannyasi means unmarried. Unmarried means he has already, a married person cannot be a sannyasi. So nowadays in India, a lot of sannyasis, they have their whatever wives, and that description also comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. One of the sannyasis was staying with his wife. A sannyasi, now he cannot have association of women. That is the thing. Otherwise, he is not a sannyasi. And it says that once a person becomes sannyasi, they should not come back to the thing that is not considered very good. So these are the things here. And yeah, yeah. So these are the some of the things, and that's how Narad Muni, he completes his description, the essence of the scriptures in some way. Like Yudhishthir Maharaj, he wanted to know about what are the duties of the people in general, because Yudhishthir Maharaj himself was a householder and Yudhishthir Maharaj was a king. So he wanted to know that. He wanted to know that how should I lead my life and how should my subjects lead my life? How should I direct them? So then every king or every head of the state, he should establish varnashram, because not everyone can practice pure devotional service. Pure devotional service, not everyone can become sannyasi. Not everyone can follow the highest principle. So that's why varnashram. Varnashram is aimed at gradual upliftment of the living entities, gradual upliftment of human beings to the highest spiritual level. That is what is the purpose of varnashram dharma. So that's why this varnashram has to be practiced to whatever extent it is possible. And if we keep on spreading Krishna consciousness in due course of time, this may come into practice also. And that's why Prabhupada also wanted to bring it into the practice. So this is the whole thing. It's already, I think, 10:30. I'm sorry. I just very fastly and quickly tried to rush through the whole thing. And I don't know whether I was I made some sense to all of you or not, I don't know, but yeah. Now over to Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Roji. You very nicely explained the Varnashrama Dharma, covering all the points. Thank you very much. Roji, just knowing your experience, you were a brahmachari earlier, brahmachari ashrama. From there, you are now in grahastha ashrama. So this brahmachari ashrama, after brahmachari ashrama, is compulsory. Everybody should go for grahastha ashrama, or not compulsory. What is your view on this?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, Prabhuji, now one thing is happening is in ISKCON now. I was happy that now ISKCON is maturing in the sense of we are now maturing into a community. Although ISKCON may go through different phases, but we are maturing ourselves into we are getting into a matured community. We are becoming a more matured community in that way. And when we talk about matured community, one aspect is people are engaged as per their nature. That is something which is very important. So that's why, when we are young, we may join as brahmacharis, and that training is very important. But ultimately, we have to see that where we can practice Krishna consciousness the best. So when we practice brahmacharya and when we practice rules and regulations, we may get some clear understanding about ourselves, our own nature. And then we feel, okay, maybe if I go into this setting and this ashrama, I may be able to serve Krishna in a better way. So with that understanding, then some of the people may feel more comfortable in grihastha ashram, and they may feel that their nature is more suited to grihastha ashram. They need that type of environment to perform their Krishna consciousness, and then they may graduate to that thing. And some people, they may feel, okay, my nature is such that I can perform better Krishna consciousness in my brahmachari life, so they may continue like that. So not everyone has to do that, but we should we should place ourselves where we are comfortable. If we place ourselves in a way where we are comfortably practicing Krishna consciousness as per our nature, like if we need that environment, then perhaps we will be able to do more contribution to the society and more contribution to ISKCON. That is the thing.
Thank you very much.
I hope I made some sense to you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Anybody is
Yeah.
having any other questions or any comments? Please come forward.
Hare Krishna, Ananda Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much for the wonderful class. And it is my opinion about your answer to His Grace Manibhushan Prabhu that our society needs all varnas and all ashramas. So
Correct,
it is
correct, correct.
for the individual to decide in which sort he fits the best.
Correct, correct,
So
correct.
so thank you very much for the clarification, Prabhu. You may be in any varnasrama, in any social order or spiritual order. Some Samsiddhi Haritoshanam is the aim.
Correct.
All the aim of all varnasrama dharma is to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So you
Correct.
do where you can do the best. Thank you. Thank you for the clarification, Prabhu. Many have these doubts that one must be a Brahmana or sannyasi. Of course, they have their role and contribution, but others also are required. Thank you very much.
Correct. Thank you.
Any other questions or any comments from anybody? Okay, I think everybody is fine. So we will conclude here. Shivagana Krishna Prabhu. Okay, Sudarshan Vasdi Prabhu, you can do the
Yes,
water.
Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Manibhushan Prabhu, for giving me the opportunity to thank His Grace Ananda Vardhan Prabhu. Hare Krishna devotees, we were very fortunate to listen the nectar from His Grace Ananda Vardhan Prabhu. Prabhu very nicely explained about Canto 7, especially the conversation between Yudhishthira Maharaj and Narada Muni, or Narada Muni is explaining about the Prahlada Charidam. That is Leelas of Lord Narasimhadeva. So, it is our time to express our gratitude to His Grace Ananda Vardhan Prabhu for contributing his precious time and efforts to enlighten us with his encouraging and enlivening lecture. Although it is very late, the sleeping hours in Bharatavarsha. So I request all devotees to unmute and chant loudly Hare Krishna Mahamantra 3 times for Prabhu's spiritual welfares. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Thank you, Manibhushan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, one thing.
Yeah.
One thing I want to clarify.
Yeah.
We used to do Purushottam month also the same outreach programs.
Yeah.
Yeah, this full 1 month we will be visiting different devotee houses, and we will be doing this Chaurashtakam Arati, and we will be doing Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter reciting and like that. So immediately after this Bhagavatam class, we will be doing the Arati in different houses. So we are using this Purushottam month also for outreach.
Preaching. Yeah. Amazing. So thank
Hare
you,
Krishna,
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji.
for
Thank you very
calling
much.
me and giving me that privilege to be the part of your allied assembly. All of you are very wonderful Vaishnavas, and I can understand that I was like a child in front of all of you. All of you are very advanced and preaching there. So I just spoke based on my understanding and some realizations. and I seek your blessings and prayers so that I can advance in Krishna
We are
consciousness.
very grateful to Sri Madhav Prabhu. He is
Yeah,
introducing all like your Vaishnavas like you. Very thankful to him also. We will utilize in future also, Prabhuji. Sometimes please keep your schedule for us.
yes, yes, yes,
We will be inviting you for another some programs also. Thank you very
yes,
much.
yes, yes. I'll be
Hare
happy to the point.
Then of
So
Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha
Vancha
Kalpatarubhyascha
Kripa
Kripa
Sindhubhya
Sindhubhyascha
Patitanam
Anam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.
the Kodi
And
Vaishnava
the
Vrinda ki
Vaishnava
Jai,
Vrinda
Shri
ki
Bhagavatam ki Jai, Purushottam
Jai.
ki Jai, His Grace
so
Ananda
thank you, Prabhu.
Vardhan Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai.
I will take your leave now, Prabhu. Thank
Okay,
you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Please, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sadananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Pranam.
today we can.
Suresh, yeah, we are welcome to Suresh Prabhuji and Vidya Mataji's house in
Okay.
Abbasya. Hare Krishna.
Who is switching on the video?
Yeah, it's
Shibu
already
Prabhu?
done, Prabhu. Done, Prabhu. Unmute either. Video. Okay.
Shibu Prabhu?
Unmute. Okay, Prabhu. Okay, Hare Krishna. Let's start, Prabhu.
Yeah, who I want to spotlight whose video is on.
Shiva Prabhu.
Okay, done. Hare Krishna, you can start, project.
Prajit prasidam Navanita chauram Gopangananam chadukula chauram Prajit prasidam Navanita chauram Gopangananam chadukula chauram Aneka janmachida pava chauram Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami Aneka Janmachita Pavachauram Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami Sri Radhikaya Hridayasya Chauram Navambuddha Shamala Kanti Chauram Sri Radhikaya Hridayasya Chauram Navambuddha Shamala Kanti Chauram Padasritanam cha samasta chauram Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami Padasritanam cha samasta chauram Chauragraganyam Purusham Namami Akinchali kritya padasridam ya Karodi Vishwamvadi gehakinam Akinchali kritya padasridam ya Karodi Vishwamvadi gehakinam Kena viho vishana chaurahidre Drishtasrudo vana jagatrayevi Kena viho vishana chaurahidre Drishtasrudo vana jagatrayevi Yediya namarsham Giri prasaran abhiparashi Yediyanapi hayanti shesham Giri prasanna vibhavarashi Ashcharya rupo nanu chaurahidre Drishtasrudo vana maya kadapi Ashcharya rupo nanu chaurahidre Drishtasrudo vana maya Lam cha manam cha tatendriyani pranam cha mama savameva Alaya se putra dutvadi chaura പാലായസേ കുദ്രധൃതൗതചൗര നാശിമയാ നിരോധ ഹിനസ്തി ഘോരം വിമപാശബന്ധം ഹിനസ്തി ഘോരം വിമപാശബന്ധം
ചിന്നസ്തി സർവസ്യ സമസ്തബന്ധം നൈവാത്മനോബന്ധം
ചിന്നസ്തി സർവസ്യ
കാരാഗൃഹേ ദുഃഖമയേ
നിബദ്ധ നാഭസ്യ ഹേ ചൗര ഹരേ ചിരായ സോ ചൗര ദോഷോചിതനേവ ദണ്ഡം കാരാഗൃഹേ വാസ സദാ ഹൃദയേ മദിയേ
പാശദൃഢബന്ധനാ നിശ്ചലാസൻ
മദ്ഭക്തിപാശദൃഢബന്ധനാ നിശ്ചലസാൻ
പ്രളയകോടി ശതാന്തരേ
കോടിശതാന്തരേ
Hari Radha, Hari Radha. Jaya Radha, Hari Radha, Hari Radha. Jaya Radha, Madhav Radha, Madhav Radha. Jaya Radha, Madhav Jaya Radha, Shyam Sundar Radha, Shyam Sundar Radha. Jaya Radha, Shyam Sundar Radha, Shyam Sundar Radha. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Jaya Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev. Jaya Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev, Jaya Narasimha Dev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. Jai. Gopalam Goparupinam Govindam Govika Priyam Govardhanam Vande Gopalam Goparupinam Govinam Govika Priyam Govindam Govika Priyam Govardhanam Vande Govardhanam Vande Gopalam Goparupinam Govindam Govika Priyam Vande Navaganashyamam Vande Navaganashyamam Vibhujam Muralidharam Pidambaradharam Devam Sharanam Purushottamam Vande Navaganashyamam Vande Navaganashyamam Vibhujam Muralidharam Pidambaradharam Devam Sharanam Purushottamam Vande Navaganashyamam Vande Navaganashyamam Vibhujam Muralidharam Pidambaradharam Devam Purushottamam Sharanam Purushottamam. Shri Bhagavan Vacha
भगवान् उवाच
अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम्
अश्वत्थं प्राहुरव्ययम्
चक्रांसि यस्य पर्णानि
यस्य वर्णानि
यस्तं वेद स वेदवित्
तं वेद स वेदवित्
अतश्चोत्स्वं प्रसृतास्तस्य शाखा
अतश्चोत्स्वं
गुणप्रवृत्ता विषयप्रवालाः
गुणप्रवृत्ता विषयप्रवालाः
अतश्च मूलान्यनुसन्ततानि
अतश्च मूलानि
कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके
कर्मानुबन्धीनि मनुष्यलोके
न रूपमस्येह ततोपलभ्यते
न रूपमस्ति ततोपलभ्यते
नातो न चादिर्न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा
नातो न शान्तिर्न च सम्प्रतिष्ठा
अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम्
अश्वत्थमेनं सुविरूढमूलम्
असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा
असङ्गशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा
तदपदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यम्
तदपदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यम्
यस्मिन् गदानानि वर्तन्ते भूयात्
यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ते भूयात्
तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये
तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये
यतः प्रवृत्ति प्रसृता पुराणी
यतः प्रवृत्ति प्रसृता पुराणी
निर्माणमोहाजितसङ्गदोषा
निर्माणमोहादितसङ्गदोषः
अध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामाः
अध्यात्मनित्या विनिवृत्तकामाः
तत्ते विमुक्ता सुखदुःखसंज्ञे
द्वन्द्वे विमुक्ता सुखदुःखसंज्ञे
गच्छन्त्यमूढा पदमव्ययं तत्
गच्छन्तमूढा पदमव्ययम्
न तद्भासयते सूर्यो
न तद्भासयते सूर्यो
न शशाङ्को न पावकः
न शशङ्को न पावकः
यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते
यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते
तद्धाम परमं मम
तद्धाम परमं मम
ममैवांशो जीवलोके
ममैवांशो जीवलोके
बभूता सनातनः
जीवभूता सनातनः
मनःषष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि
मनःषष्ठानीन्द्रियाणि
प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति
प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति
शरीरं यदवाप्नोति
शरीरं यदवाप्नोति
यच्चाप्युत्क्रामतीश्वरः
यच्चाप्युत्क्रामतीश्वरः
गृहीत्वैतानि संयाति
गृहीतैवानि संयाति
वायुगन्धानि वाशयात्
वायुर्गन्धानि वाशयः
श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च
श्रोत्रं चक्षुस्पर्शनं च
रसनं घ्राणमेव च
रसनं घ्राणमेव च
अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायम्
अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायम्
विषयानुपसेवते
विषयानुपसेवते
उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि
उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि
उज्जानं वा गुणान्वितं
ऊर्जानं वा गुणान्वितं
विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति
विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति
पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः
पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः
यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनं
यदन्तो योगिनश्चैनं
पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितं
पश्यन्त्यात्मन्यवस्थितं
यतन्तोऽप्याकृतात्मानो
यदन्तोऽप्याकृतात्मानो
नैनं पश्यन्त्यचेतसा
नैनं पश्यन्त्यचेतसः
यदादित्यगतं तेजो
यदादित्यगतं तेजो
जगद्भासयतेऽखिलं
जगद्भासयतेऽखिलम्
यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चाग्नौ
यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चाग्नौ
तत्तेजो विद्धिमामकम्
तत्तेजो विधिमामकम्
कामाविश्य च भूतानि
कामाविश्य च भूतानि
धारयाम्याहमोजसा
धारयाम्याहमोजसा
पुष्णामि चौषधी सर्वा
पुष्णामि चौषधी सर्वा
भूत्वा रसात्मकः
सोमभूत्वा रसात्मकः
अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा
अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा
प्राणिनां देहमाश्रिता
प्राणिनां देहमाश्रितः
प्राणापानसमायुक्ता
प्राणापानसमायुक्ता
पचाम्यन्नं च दुर्विधम्
पचाम्यन्नं च दुर्विधम्
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो
सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो
मत्तस्मृतिज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदेश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेह च माम् भाविमौ पुरुषौ लोके शरश्चक्षर एव च शरः सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थोऽक्षर उच्यते उत्तमः पुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकात्रयमाविश्य विपाट्यं व्यय ईश्वरः यस्माक्षरमतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमः अतोऽस्मि लोके वेदे च प्रथिता पुरुषोत्तमः यो मामेव सम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमम् स सर्वविद् भजति माम् सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदमुक्तं मया नघ एतत् बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमान् स्यात् कृतकृत्यश्च भारत
इति श्रीमद् भगवद्गीतासु ब्रह्मविद्यायां हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhuji, you can do the vote of thanks.
Okay, Prabhu. So in this today we have so in this auspicious Purushottam month, whatever maybe you have doing for the Krishna Purushottam, part of the plan, Krishna Purushottam. So we have offered him the lamb, and we have heard the Bhagavatam, and whatever we are doing prayers today, or whatever we can do this month, so it will be more auspicious than the Kartik month. This is the proceeding year month is coming. So Mataji, Vidya Mataji, and Suresh Prabhu. Which we have chance to show these conference by 15 chapter Purushottam. So 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for all the devotees who have participated for today's class, the program. Tomorrow we'll have a Srimad Bhagavatam class at 7 p.m. by Govardhana Giri Prabhu again. So we'll be continuing the 8th chapter tomorrow, 8th canto. Please join everybody at 7 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Kripā sindhu
Vajha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नमाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। राष्ट्रपति जय
की जय।
जय
वैष्णव वृंद की जय।
जय।
जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि
हरि हरि
Hare Bol.
all glorious assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for coordinating and conducting. Devotion Prabhu, Sadanda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.